devotees. All that is those in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu Mataji, welcome all of you. Thank you very much for joining and keeping up the appointment with Krishna. So today, we'll be taking from Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll be discussing from 3rd canto, 15th chapter, verse number 46. Kumara uchuhu yo antarhito ridigatopi duratmanam tvam sodyaiva no nayanamulam anantaradaha yariheva karna vivarena guham gato naha pitranuvarnitaraha bhavadudbhavena. Kumara uchuhu yo antarhito hridigatopi duratmanam tvam sodyaiva no nayanamulam anantaradaha yaryeva karna vivarena guham gato naha pitranuvarnitaraha bhavadudbhavena. Kumara uchuhu yo antarhito hridigatopi duratmanam tvam swadhyaiva no nayanamulam anantaradaha yaryeva karna vivarena guham gato naha pitranuvarnitaraha bhavadudbhavena. Anybody else wants to recite?
Hare Krishna, may I?
Yes, Balaji Prabhu.
Am I audible? Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna, please recite.
Can you hear me?
1546.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, you can recite now.
Kumara uvacha, Kumara uchuhu. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yontar hito hritikato bituratmanam tvam yotyayvano nayanamulam anantarataha yarheva karna vivarena kupam kadonah pitranuvarnitaraha bhavadudbhavena.
Jai, Hari Bol, very nice. Hari Bol, thank you.
May I, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Kumara uchu yontarhito hridigatopi duratmanam tvam sodyaiva no nayanamulanantaratha yarheva karna vivarena guham gato naha pitranuvarnitaraha bhavadudbhavena.
Yeah, very nice. Very good, Mataji. Hare Krishna, thank you much. Okay, go to the word-to-word meaning now. Synonyms. Kumara uchuhu, whom the Kumara said, Yaha, he who, antarhita, not manifested, Hridi, in the heart, Gataha is seated, Api, even though, Duratmanam, to the rascals, Tvam, you, Saha, he, Adya, today, Eva, certainly, Naha, of us, Nayana Moolam, face to face, Ananta, O unlimited one, Radhaha, attained, Yarhi, when, Eva, certainly, Karna Vivarena, through the years, Guham, intelligence, Gataha, have attained, Nha, or Pitra, by your father, Anuvarnita, described, Rahaha, mysteries, Bhavat Udbhavena, by your appearance. Translation and purport by Divine Geshe Prabhupada Ki Jai. Please hear the translation and purport. The Kumara said, Our dear Lord, you are not manifested to rascals, even though you are seated within the heart of everyone. But as far as we are concerned, we see you face to face although you are unlimited. The statements we have heard about you from our father Brahma through the years have now been actually realized by your kind appearance. Purport. The so-called yogis who concentrate their mind or meditate upon the impersonal or void are described here. This verse of Srimad Bhagavatam describes persons who are expected to be very expert yogis engaged in meditation, but who do not find the Supreme Personality of Godhead seated within the heart. These persons are described here as Duratma, which means a person who has a very crooked heart or a less intelligent person, just opposite to a Mahatma, which means one who has a broad heart. Those so-called yogis who, although engaged in meditation, are not broad-hearted, cannot find the 400 Narayana form, even though he is seated within their heart. Although the first realization of the Supreme Absolute Truth is impersonal Brahman, one should not remain satisfied with experiencing the impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Lord. In the Ishopanishad, also, the devotee prays that the glaring effulgence of the Brahman may be removed from his eyes so that he can see the real personal feature of the Lord and thus satisfy himself fully. Similarly, although the Lord is not visible in the beginning because of his glaring bodily effulgence, if a devotee sincerely wants to see him, the Lord is revealed to him. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord cannot be seen by our imperfect eyes, he cannot be heard by our imperfect ears, and he cannot be experienced by our imperfect senses. But that if one engages in devotional service with faith and devotion, then God reveals himself. This last para is very wonderful. See here the 4 sages, Sanat Kumara, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanaka are described as actually sincere devotees. Although they had heard from their father Brahma about the personal feature of the Lord, only the impersonal feature, Brahman, was revealed to them. But because they were sincerely searching for the Lord, they finally saw his personal feature directly, which corresponded with the description given by their father. They thus became fully satisfied. Here, they expressed their gratitude because, although they were foolish impersonalists in the beginning, with the grace of the Lord, they could now have the good fortune to see his personal feature. Another significant aspect of this verse is that the sages describe their experience of hearing from their father Brahma, who was born of the Lord directly. In other words, the disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, and so on, is accepted here. Because the Kumaras were sons of Brahma, they had the opportunity to learn Vedic knowledge from the disciplic succession of Brahma, and therefore, in spite of their impersonal beginnings, they became, in the end, direct seers of the personal feature of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada's translation purport ki jai. Om Gyanandamara Andasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapatakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Ushabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yonta Pravishya Mama Vachim Mam Prasuptam Sanjeevayat Svadhamnam Anyam Chahasta Charana Shrivatvagadin Prana Namo Bhagavate Krishaya Tubhyam Namo Shri Vishnu Mahashasantane Namo Shri Vishnu. So Hare Krishna Prabhu is Mother. Thank you very much for joining. So hearing Bhagavatam early in the morning after the Mangalati class, no? Standard of ISKCON in everywhere all around the world. So Prabhupada has given as this wonderful package. So just this paragraph which I studied just now, the second paragraph of this verse. He says the 4 sages, Sanat Kumaras, no? Sanat Kumara Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanaka. They are described as actually sincere devotees. Although they heard from Brahmaji, about the personal feature of the Lord, but they were only Brahman, impersonal feature was revealed to them because initially they were impersonalists. But because sincerely searching for the Lord, this is very important to understand. Because they were sincerely searching for the Lord. Where? In the Vaikuntha planet, right? They passed through the 6 gates, 7th gate, Jaya was. So they were coming to the Vaikuntha planet, searching for the Lord, to have the personal feature. His personal feature directly. And another most important thing is, when they saw him, it corresponded with the description given by Brahmaji. So Brahmaji, whatever he told, how Krishna looks, how his ornaments, everything will be there. When they saw them, he was just exactly the same. So this is also very important for the spiritual masters. They are giving the description of the Lord. Same thing happened with Dhruva Maharaj, right? When Dhruva Maharaj was going, when his mother told, no, if you want to sit to be my son, you have to approach Vishnu. So that next life you will come in my womb and be born, right? That's what his stepmother told. But now Suniti also, his mother also was telling him, the only way to approach the Supreme who can give all the solutions. So when he was going, he was a 5-year-old boy, right? And when he was going, he's a Kshatriya. So he was, and his main purpose of going to see the Lord was to get material position. Material means he wanted to have a bigger kingdom than his father and his grandfather Brahma also. So when he was going, Narada Muni stopped him. He said, little boy, I know you're Kshatriya, but this is not he's a very small boy. In the forest, if you go, everything will be there. How can you pray? It's very difficult for you. So, but being a Kshatriya, he said, Narada Muni, if you want to tell me something, how I can go about and have the darshan of the Lord, please tell me, otherwise I'm going. Right? And Narada Muni saw his determination, right? So he gave him the mantra and then he went. So he described how the Lord looks and everything. So same thing happened when Dhruva Maharaj, after all this penance, just 6 months he could see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So when he saw him, initially, of course, he was praying and he was in the heart. But afterwards, the Lord came in front of him. He lost from inside. When he saw the Lord, he couldn't realize what happened, right? But he was so wonderful struck. He wanted to give some wonderful prayers to glorify the Lord, but he was not able to do that. So Krishna, everyone, right? He knew what Dhruva was expecting, desiring. So he just touched with the conch on his head, right? Immediately he started glorifying the Supreme Lord with wonderful Dhruva Maharaj prayers, right? We can see in Bhagavatam. So this is what. So they were searching, sincerely searching. When you sincerely search, then finally you can see the personal feature of the Lord. So that's why the description of Godhead, of the kingdom of God, is being given as Bhagavatam in this chapter. So it gives a full description how the Vaikuntha the kingdom of God looks like. So when you read that, you will always see, so you have the hanker that you want to sincerely search, you want to go there, right? So when you have that anchoring Krishna, ultimately, by remembering Krishna when you last time at the end of, because at the end of life, whatever you think that you become, so if you think of Krishna, you go back to Golokunda, right? So thereby they became very fully satisfied. Here they express their gratitude, because although they were foolish impersonalists in the beginning, of Lord, they could now have the good fortune to see his personal feature. And another significant aspect of this verse, Prabhupada says, is that sages describe their experience of hearing from their father Brahma, who was born of the Lord directly. Brahma was born directly from the lotus stem of Vishnu, right? So in other words, the disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahma, then from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, this is accepted here. This is authority. Because the Kumaras were born sons of Brahma, they had the opportunity to learn Vedic knowledge from the disciplic succession of Brahma. And therefore, in spite of their being impersonalist beginnings, they became in the end direct seers of the personal feature of the Lord. So the sincerity is very, very important for us to understand, right? See here, Maharaj Parikshita, he was already directly connected with the personal feature of the Lord, Sri Krishna. He saw when the womb of the mother only he had seen that, right? So as such, he had no need to inquire from Shukadeva Goswami about where and how to apply the mind in the impersonal Virat Rupa of the Lord. But he inquired after detailed description of the matter for the benefit of others. Others means who are unable to conceive of the transcendental personal feature of the Lord as a form of Sat Chit and Anand, eternity, knowledge, and see the non-devotees class of men. They cannot think of the personal feature of the Lord because of their, Prabhupada always says, poor fund of knowledge. Not only knowledge, poor fund of knowledge. Because of that, the personal form of the Lord, like Rama or Krishna, is completely them. They cannot understand. They have a poor estimation of the potency of the Lord. That's why Prabhupada says in the purport of 2.1.22 in Bhagavatam, in that purport only he says, he is referring to Bhagavad Gita 9.11. He says it is explained by the Lord himself that people with a poor fund of knowledge deride the Supreme Personality, taking him to be a common man. Such men are ignorant of the potency of the Lord. So by the inconceivable potency of the Lord, he can move in human society or any other society of living beings and yet remain the same omnipotent Lord without deviating the slightest form from his transcendental position, right? So, Prabhupada says, for the benefit of men who are unable to accept the Lord in his personal eternal form, Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami how to fix the mind on him in the beginning. See, in the Ishopanishad, 18th verse, it says, in the case of a devotee, the Lord directs him in such a way that he never acts wrongly. See, such a wonderful point. That's why in Bhagavatam 11.5.42 says, the Lord is so kind to the devotee who is fully surrendered to his lotus feet that even though the devotee sometimes falls into the entanglement of vikarma, that means he acts against the Vedic directions, the Lord at once rectifies such mistakes from within his heart. This is because the devotees are very dear to the Lord. So in this mantra of Ishopanishad, the devotee prays to the Lord to rectify him from within his heart. See, to err is human. The conditioned soul is very often apt to commit mistakes. And the only remedial measure to take against such intentional sins is to give oneself up to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Krishna, so that he may guide one to avoid pitfalls. The Lord takes charge of fully surrendered souls. Thus, all problems are solved simply by surrendering oneself unto the Lord and acting in terms of his directions. So such directions are given to the sincere devotee in two ways. One is by way of the saints, scriptures, and spiritual master. And the other is by way of the Lord himself, who resides within the heart of everyone. So thus, the devotee, fully enlightened with Vedic knowledge, is protected in all respects. That's why Srimati Kunti Maharani said, please hear what she's saying, wonderful in the purport. Prabhupada says, it's in Krishna book, I think the 58th chapter, right? She says, my dear Krishna, I remember the day when you sent my brother Akrura to gather information about us. This means, just remember us automatically. When you sent Akrura, I could understand that there was no possibility of her being put in danger. See, all good fortune in our life began when you sent Akrura to us. So since then, I have been convinced that we are not without protection. See, again, more Kunti is still praying. She's saying to Krishna, we may be put into various types of dangerous conditions by our family members, the Kurus. But I am confident that you remember us. See, we are supposed to remember Krishna, right? But see what she's saying. You remember us and always keep us safe. See, even ordinary devotees who simply think of you are always immune to all kinds of material danger. And what to speak of ourselves who are prospered by you. So, my dear Krishna, there is no question of bad luck. We are always in an auspicious position because of your grace. Yet, although you have bestowed a special favor on us, people should not mistakenly think, that you are partial to some and inattentive to others. No, you make no such distinction. No one is your favorite and no one is your enemy. As the Supreme Personality of God, equal to everyone. And everyone can take advantage of your special protection. That, so Kuntiman is telling that although you are equal to everyone, you are especially inclined to the devotees, always think of you. Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. So devotees are related to you by ties of love. As such, they cannot forget you even for a moment. You are present in everyone's heart. But because the devotees always remember you, you respond accordingly. So Prabhupada says, mother has affection for all her children. She takes special care of the one dependent. So she says, I know certainly that being seated in everyone's heart, you always create auspicious situations for your unalloyed devotees. What a wonderful statement. Auspicious situations, right? That's why, the lectures, Prabhupada says, in Bhagavatam, the description of the Lord is given. Janmadhyasya tene brahma hrida. First chapter, first canto, first chapter, first verse. So first of all, he gave instruction. Janmadhyasya, from whom everything is emanating. So Lord Brahma is also emanating from him. Tene brahma hrida ya adi kavaye. So how Lord Brahma got Vedic instruction? That is answered. Hrida means through the heart. So the Lord is situated in every heart. In the heart of Brahma or the heart of an ant. Not only in the heart, no, but also within the atoms. Andantarastam paramantarastam. Brahma Samhita. Paramanu means atom. So we do not know how many paramanus, atoms are there. That is impossible to count. So even if you are able to count how many paramanus or atoms are there, still you cannot know what is the limit of God's expansion in quality. So Krishna is Vasudeva, all expansive. He is sitting in everyone's heart and he is giving opportunity to everyone. Whatever he wants. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. 6:1. He is situated there and is so kind to the living. Whatever he is wanting, the Lord is giving him. So whatever desires he will fulfill. So this body is also given by Krishna. It is made by the material, but it is given by Krishna. Just like we take a vehicle and then travel, right? Similarly, we are wanting to do something. It doesn't matter what. And Krishna is a super soul, Paramatma, who is sitting within the heart. He is asking this material nature, you give this such and such body so that he can enjoy whatever he likes. So therefore, we are getting different types of body, and there are 84 lakh species of life. So this body, so if you like, you can get the body of a human being, or you can get the body of a tiger, or you can get the body of a demigod, or body of Lord Brahma, right? Or even the Prabhupada says in one of the lectures, you can get the body of microbe germ in the stool. This will depend on your work. And that is going on. See, there are innumerable planets, innumerable universes, cannot count. So the living entities are also innumerable. And they are getting innumerable types of bodies. And every account is kept up. Now just imagine, what is the government of Krishna? This is being managed. This whole worldly affair is being managed by one, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. And this information we get from Shastras. So our position at the present moment is we are desiring something. We know every one of us, we have got different desires. Not same desire. No. Different people have different mentalities, right? So why you have got different desires? And that different desires means different consciousness. That is described in Bhagavad Gita 2.41. Vivasatmika buddhir ekehe kuru nandana. Bahushaka hi anantascha buddhaye vivasayinam. Those who are not fixed up, they have got different desires. And because they have got different desires, they are getting different types of body. And because they are getting different types of body, they are rolling on, wandering in different situations, in different planets. But one who has come to the right conclusion of life, he is called Vivasatimika Buddhir Eka. Eka means that Lord Vishnu. When our desire becomes fixed up in Lord Vishnu, Krishna, then our life is perfect. But that we do not know. Therefore, Bahushaka Anantascha Buddhi Avyavasainam. Because our mind Because our desire is not fixed up. And because it is not fixed, we are manufacturing different desires. Because mind's business is what? Concoction. Accepting something, rejecting something. And this is going on. But by intelligence, we come to a certain conclusion. And that intellectual platform is called Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Just like Sanatana Goswami, when he approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he very intellectually asked Lord Chaitanya, who am I? Why I am suffering these three kinds of material miserable conditions of life? So this is intellectual platform. This is intellectual path. And this intellectual part of our life, that is called Buddhi Yogam. Therefore, in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, the most intellectual person can become Krishna conscious. Why? Krishna also confirms this in Bhagavad Gita. 7.19. Bhavana Jnanavan ma prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti sa Mahatma sudurlabha. He is most intellectual Mahatma, whose intelligence has been broadened so that he has understood Krishna. Vasudeva. So Vasudeva sarvamiti sa Mahatma sudurlabha. Very rare. Now dinosaur, no? It's very rare, right? So that's why one of my godbrother, he says, dinosaur is rare. You cannot catch. Now, now the devotees association is also very rare. So durlabha, very durlabha. So whenever you get an opportunity to associate with devotees, just catch hold of him. Otherwise, slowly it will become, it's difficult. Wherever you get opportunity to associate with devotees, just catch hold of it. Read Bhagavatam, read chant together. That is very, otherwise, he says, Bhavanam Janmanamante. So the thing which is achieved after many, many births of intellectual activities, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, now this is the point. You catch this immediately. Krishna also says, you catch this. Why should you wait for many, many births? If it is a fact that after many, many births of intellectual exercises, you have come to the point of surrendering to Krishna, Krishna says, the most confident part of knowledge is that you surrender immediately unto me. Sarvadharmam Parityaja, right? So those who are actually intelligent, they take this opportunity and surrender unto Krishna. It's very easy, one accepts easily, but it's very difficult, one does not accept it. Otherwise, it is very easy. See, Krishna is canvassing, no? You surrender unto me. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksheshami mashucha. In 18.6, that's what he's telling. So that is Krishna is giving us the intelligence, Buddhi Yogam. And if we surrender, then Krishna says, he assures, again in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami Buddhi Yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Tesham satata yuktanam. Satata means 24 hours. Not that I meditate for 15 minutes and do all nonsense 24 hours. Satata yuktanam. One should be engaged 24 hours in the business of Krishna consciousness. That is possible. It is not that it is impossible. You can engage yourself in Krishna consciousness 24 hours without any cessation, without any break. But you have to know how to do it. And that is being taught in Bhagavad. But you can do it. As soon as you take to it, Tesham satat yuktanam bhajatam priti purvam. Krishna says, Krishna should be worshipped with priti, love, not officially. See, of course, in the beginning, we may be doing officially, right? Beginning, we have to act by the direction of the spiritual master, by the direction of the Shastras. But we practice it by the direction of Guru and Shastra. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, Vakya. Then gradually you become attached to it. See, this attachment stage can be achieved under certain process. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in 7.1, Maya Sattva Manah Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yata Gyasasi Tachrunu. Tachrunu means immediately. So Krishna is teaching how you can develop your attachment to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. We have to understand it. So as soon as we develop this attachment, Tesham Satat Yuktana, attachment means just like you have got a lover or some lovable object. You cannot live without it, right? So you are always searching, where is my love? That is called attachment. That attachment, as taught by Lord Chaitanya, he says in Seshadripuram, 7th Seshadripuram, Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam, Govinda Virhename. This is the final stage of attachment. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us that I'm feeling everything is vacant. Why? Being separated from Govinda. Shunyahitam Jagat Sarvam me. So this is the highest stage of attachment. You're missing Krishna. You're so attached to please Krishna, right? So this is Krishna conscious movement. Prabhupada says, teaching people how to become attached to Krishna instead of Maya. We are attached to Maya. We have created so many things. We have so many things. The arrangement which you have made is for forgetting Krishna. Anything we make here is enjoyment. That means forgetful of Krishna. Sense enjoyment and sense. Our senses are not for sense enjoyment. See, for example, a crude example is given. There is a beautiful flower, right? It is made by. We cannot make separate flower, right? Made by Krishna. Krishna says, Punyo Gandham Kriti 7.9 verse, he said, Bhagavad Gita. Anything beautiful, any nice flavor, aroma. Krishna says it is Punyo Gandha Pritivyamcha. Therefore, Krishna consciousness means when you get a flower, very nice rose flower or a jasmine, very aromatic, no? So if you think, let me enjoy it, let me enjoy the smell and enjoy it. That is the same flower. If you change your consciousness that this flower is made by Krishna, so beautiful, so aromatic, let me offer it to Krishna. The same flower. Then you can become, this is either, see, with the same flower, you can become either sensuous or you can give it service to Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. There is nothing to be invented. Huh? Everything is there. Simply you have to change your consciousness. If you do not do that, then it is Maya. Then Krishna is there. See, Krishna is given all facilities, right? Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddesha Arjuna Tishtati. He's there within the heart of everyone. He knows what is your purpose of life. You cannot hide from Krishna. Desire, correct? So if you desire Krishna, then Krishna gives you the intelligence. Buddhi Yogam, Tadami Buddhi Yogam, 10.10 Bhagavad Gita says. So he says, yes, take this intelligence. You will come to me. Yena mama payantite. But you desire to enjoy this material world. In that case, then he will say, he will give you that facility also. That means different types of body. If you think, I shall eat fresh flesh and fresh blood, all right, you become a tiger. So why you are desiring? I will give you all the facilities. You got nails and teeth. Enjoy. So Krishna gives you that enjoyment. So if you don't discriminate what is your food, whatever you like, you eat nonsense, all right, you become a hog. Eat up the stool. The body is made so that the hog will eat stool, right? So that is said by Prahlad Maharaj in Bhagavatam 7.6.3. The material enjoyment is given facility by Krishna by a particular type of body. Dehe yogene dehi. So this is going on. Now here's the chance. Now we have got a chance, that human form of body. Now you got this. You got to discrimination. You can understand because your consciousness is advanced, right? That's why you are a human form of body. Now you can make your choice. Whether you want to continue this repeated birth and death in different species of life, or you want to go back to Godhead. That is your discretion. That's why Prahlad Maharaj said, no, Komara Acharet Pragyo Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabam Manasham Janma Tadapi Adhruvam Arthadam 761 Bhagavatam. Very nice instruction. What Prahlad, dear friends, Durlabam Manusham Janma, this human form of body is very, very rare to achieve. Now we have got it. Therefore, let us begin Krishna consciousness from the very childhood. And that is the Vedic system. See, from the very childhood, Brahmachari is given Krishna consciousness so that in the future, his life becomes perfect. And what is that perfect? He knows Krishna by Krishna consciousness perfectly. And what is the result? If one knows Krishna perfectly, then Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti. That is 4.9 Bhagavad Gita. After giving up this body, he does not come back again to take another material body, and he goes back home, back to Godhead. So this Krishna consciousness movement is very scientific, based on Vedic knowledge. And it's so perfect that we're actually seeing that anyone who is taking this Krishna consciousness movement is feeling happy. See, in Bhagavatam 2.4.25 purport, Prabhupada says, as soon as Brahma was born, from the abdominal lotus petals of Vishnu, he was impregnated with Vedic knowledge. And therefore, he is known as Veda Garbha. or Vedantist from the embryo. So without Vedic knowledge or perfect, infallible knowledge, no one can create anything. All scientific knowledge and perfect knowledge are Vedic. One can get all types of information from the Vedas. And as such, Brahma was impregnated with all perfect knowledge so that it was possible for him to create. So Brahma knew the perfect description of creation, as it was exactly apprised to him by the Supreme Lord Hari. So Brahma, on being questioned by Narada, told Narada exactly what he had heard directly from the Lord. Narada again told exactly the same thing to Vyasa. And Vyasa also told to Sukadeva exactly what he heard from Narada. So Sukadeva Goswami was going to repeat the same statements as he heard from Vyasadeva. So that is the way of Vedic understanding. The language of the Vedas can be revealed only by disciplic succession and not otherwise. See, in 296, Prabhupada says, in Sanskrit language, the consonant alphabets are divided into two divisions, namely the Sparsha Varnas and the Talavya Varnas. See, from Ka to Ma, the letters are known as the Sparsha Varnas. And the 16th of the group is called Ta, whereas the 21st letter is called Pa. So when they are joined together, the word Tapa or penance is constructed. So this penance is the beauty and wealth of the Brahmanas and the renowned order of life. See, according to the Bhagavata philosophy, every human being is meant simply for this tapa and for no other business. Because by penance only can one realize by himself. And self-realization, not sense gratification. Realization is the business of human life. So this tapa or penance was begun from the very beginning of the creation. And it was first adopted by the Supreme Spiritual Master, Lord Brahma. See, by tapasya only, one can get the profit of human life. And not by a polished civilization of animal life. Animal does not know anything except sense gratification. Eat, drink, be merry, enjoy. But the human being is made to undergo tapasya for going back home, back to Godhead. So when Lord Brahma was perplexed about material manifestations in the universe, he went down within the water to the source of his lotus seat. Ultimately, after going so many thousands of years, he heard the word tapa vibrated twice. And taking the path of tapa is the second birth of the desiring disciple. See, the word upashanot is very significant. It is similar to upanayana, or bringing the disciple nearer to the spiritual master. For what? For the path of tapa. So Brahmaji was thus initiated by Lord Krishna. And this fact is again told by Brahmaji himself in his book, that is Brahma Samhita. In Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma has sung in every verse, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Brahma was initiated by Krishna mantra, by Lord Krishna himself. And thus he became a Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord, before he was able to construct the huge universe. So it is stated in Brahma Samhita that Lord Brahma was initiated into the 18-letter Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, which is generally accepted by all the devotees of Lord Krishna. Sorry, 16 word, right? The same principle because we belong to Brahma Sampradaya, directly in the disciplic chain of Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, right? Then this like Madhavendra Puri, Ishwar Puri, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Prabhupada says ultimately to Siddhanta Saraswati. So one who is thus initiated in the disciplic succession is the same result or power of creation. So chanting of this holy mantra is the only shelter. Chanting of this holy mantra is the only shelter of the desireless, pure devotee. Simply by such tapasya or penance, the devotee of the Lord achieves all perfections like Lord Brahma. See, our maturity in devotional service does not depend upon the number of years we practice bhakti. But it depends upon how we are genuinely seeing Krishna in everyone, remembering Krishna in all our activities. Right? That is maturity. Maturity is not that how many years I'm in bhakti, I'm doing Krishna consciousness, right? So in order to achieve this stage, Prabhupada gives 3 fundamental requirements of self-realization of our Krishna consciousness. He gives a wonderful definition of self-realization in such a simple language in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, third chapter, 33rd verse, purport. The translation is, whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. You see the purport. I'm just reading out from the Prabhupada. He says, self-realization means becoming indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle bodies and becoming serious about the activities of the self. Now let us see point by point. Number one is indifferent to the needs of gross body. Gross body is what we can see, that's gross, right? So my Guru Maharaj, Maharshi Goswami Maharaj says that the body will do everything and anything other than to become a devotee. The body will do anything and everything other than to. But instead of paying more attention to it, if we turn our attention to service, be it hearing about Krishna, or singing kirtans, or glorifying for the Lord, or making garlands for him, or cooking for Krishna, then we will be easily able to be indifferent to bodily needs. So Srimad Bhagavatam gives us a wonderful example of how Parikshit Maharaj and all the sages at the banks of the Ganges were able to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami continuously for 7 days without being disturbed by thirst. Just by hearing Bhagavatam. It is possible. Indifferent to gross bodily needs. Now, second point, indifferent to the needs of subtle body. Now, subtle body includes mind, intelligence, and false ego. See, the soul is carrying the subtle body life after life without end, whereas gross body is finished with the end of the material body. We get different material bodies, but subtle body is constant and never leaves us. And it is very difficult to attack and curb its need. See, when our intelligence is not steady, then our mind and false ego will create havoc. It will create havoc to ourselves and the people around us. So it is very important to have a steady intelligence by taking shelter of Guru Shastra. See, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we find that when Bali Maharaj was put Vamandev, Bali Maharaj remained truthful to his vow, in spite of being defamed and deprived of his opulences. That's why in Bhagavatam, 8th canto, 22nd chapter, the two verses 29 and 30, so wonderfully to Bali Maharaj. Although bereft of his riches, fallen from his original position, defeated and arrested by his enemies, rebuked and deserted by his relatives and friends, although suffering the pain of being bound, and although rebuked and cursed by his spiritual master, Bali Maharaj, being fixed in his vow, did not give up his truthfulness. See, if you just think about all these points, no? He was defeated and arrested by his enemies. He was rebuked and deserted by his relatives and friends. He was suffering the pain of being bound, rebuked by his even spiritual master. But he was fixed in his vow. He did not give his truthfulness. Vamanadeva is telling it was certainly with pretension that I spoke about religious principles. But Bali Maharaj, he did not give up the religious principles because he is true to his word. Resolute determination is very much required. That's what Bali Maharaj is teaching us. So this is the real meaning of indifference to the needs of the son. Srila Prabhupada uses the word need. Need, which means that it has become a necessity for these two bodies, subtle and gross. But the verse very clearly tells that these two things are nothing to do with the soul. Right? So this is the point we have to ponder over. How to do it is given in the third requirement, which is, that is seriousness about the act. And this is the key point we have to ponder over again and again. That third point is serious about the activities of the self. See, unless we are serious about the devotional service and Krishna consciousness, where is the question of becoming indifferent to the gross and subtle bodily needs? So we have to be serious, right? The real position of the soul is a servant. And once the service attitude is given as a gift of mercy from the Lord, then automatically we'll be indifferent to gross or subtle bodily needs. So Srila Prabhupada about this in the wonderful purport of Bhagavatam verse 3:13-50. that it is most essential for a devotee to become serious about devotional service. One who is serious about eliminating the material existence must chant and hear of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Otherwise, one will be compared to the non-humans. Prabhupada is non-humans. That's why those who come to devotional service, my Maharaj says, those who come to devotional service, they are not ordinary, they are extraordinary. So those who come to devotional service are extraordinary, because ordinary persons will not come to devotional service. That's why Bhagavatam verse 3:25-33 confirms that bhakti, devotional service, dissolves the subtle body of the living entity without separate effort. Just as the fire in the stomach digests all that we eat. So we should remember the golden lines of Prabhupada in the purport of 110 Bhagavatam. Please hear very carefully. Overeating, over sense gratification, over dependence on another's mercy, and artificial standards of living, they sap the very vitality of human energy. So when we try to practice these things in our life, then we'll be able to use this vital energy properly in Krishna service. That's why there's a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam 3:13-49, which will encourage everyone else to take up Krishna consciousness. 3:13-49. Tasmin prasanne sakalam prabhau kim durlabham tabhir alatmabhi ananya drishtya bhajatam guhashayah swayam vidhatte swagatim parapara. Beautiful. Please hear the translation purport. Wonderful. We should memorize this verse translation purport. He says, translation is, nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. By transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. One who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfection stage by the Lord himself, who is seated. Now here the purport, which gives, this is an inspiration to everybody, encourages every consciousness immediately. He says, Prabhupada says in the purport, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, the Lord gives intelligence to the pure devotees so that elevated to the highest perfectional stage. It is confirmed herein that a pure devotee who constantly engages in the loving service of the Lord is awarded all knowledge necessary for the personality of Godhead. For such a devotee, there is nothing valuable but the Lord's service. If one serves faithfully, there is no possibility of frustration, because the Lord himself takes charge of the devotee's advancement. He is seated in everyone's heart, and he knows the devotee's motive and arranges achievable. In other words, the pseudo devotee who is anxious to achieve material gains cannot attain the highest perfect stage, because the Lord is in knowledge of his motive. So one merely has to become sincere in his purpose, and then the Lord in every way. What a wonderful provision. Prabhupada's transcendental purport key. So let us all pray to Guru, Prabhupada and Krishna to shower their causeless mercy on us, so that we can understand this topmost secret of self-realization, and thereby be able to curb the needs of the subtle and gross body and really become serious about devotional service. Vinandra Srimad Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Gurudev ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari. Mataji for giving me this opportunity to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and we just follow his instructions of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra and put it in our daily life. Definitely come back to Godhead, and that's our aim should be in this human form of life. Go back to Godhead in this lifetime only. Although if you don't know for which species of life will come, and that's why this training ground is very, very important, so that at the end of our life you're able to think about Krishna. That's why the kingdom of Godhead, how the kingdom looks like, and how the people are there. Like this chapter is so wonderful to read. Please go through if it's possible. Otherwise, and many of you might have been attending the classes also. So thank you very much for this, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhis kripa sindhu bhaya sampavani pivashtu. Hare Krishna. If anybody wants to share or anything,
Hare Krishna,
please.
Prabhuji, Danda
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful
Thank you,
class,
Sunil
Prabhu.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Anybody want to ask any question or share anything? or take a, what do you feel that you can take away from this class? You can put into practice immediately. Should be immediately, no? You not don't wait. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, बहुत अच्छा लगा प्रभु जी, बहुत
Thank you,
अच्छा।
Paramahansa.
हरे कृष्णा, हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Thank you, Mother. Thank you. It's all Prabhupada's mercy. Thank you, Nirmal. Hare Krishna. I'm not thirsty. Hear Bhagavatam, read Bhagavatam. There is no thirst and hunger. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful class.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu Mataji. See you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
प्रधान पावनी वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। समेत भक्त वृंद की जय, परिपांश प्रभुपाद की जय, उपस्थित भक्त वृंद की जय।
Hare Bol. Thank you, sir.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you, Mother.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Hare Krishna, Sunita Mati. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.